Hi, this is John Gickler. I'm going to be telling my real life mob story here. I'm reading this from a script so I don't get any of the names wrong or anything. So bear with me, please. Um, I'm not going to use real names of the people I actually knew, but I will use the real names of some of the mob figures that they were involved with. So when I was 28 years old, I'd been living in Iowa, working for a small nonprofit company. My fiance, though, was living in Chicago, so we decided to move to Chicago for me to move to Chicago and find a job there. I interviewed for a network administrator position for a company on the west side of Chicago that makes tablecloths and napkins. After meeting with their IT manager, I was told that I had the job as long as the owner liked me. So the first time I met the owner was at the interview. The interview went very well, although it was filled with questions that I knew he couldn't really ask legally. Things like what was my religion or my marital status, etc. But I got the job, and the salary was about double what I was making before in Iowa. So the company was, if you can imagine this, the company was in a old cookie factory. It was 4 stories, and there was a pretty bad neighborhood. Uh, there was a while there where cars were getting stolen fairly regularly from the parking lots. So, and actually, it was just a couple blocks from the bottom lounge where Bowling for Soups played quite a few times. So, the way the building was laid out, all the administrative offices, the sales offices, shipping and receiving were all on the first floor. Um, so on my first day, I asked what's on the second or third floor, and I was told, "You don't want to go up there. Don't go up there." So I knew the people were going up there. About 20 people or so were coming down with shift changes, but I was told never to go to the second or third floor. So my office was basically in this kind of self-contained office unit. It was just a box with some air conditioners in it and 3 desks. Um, and across from me was the person who did the collections for the company. He was about 90 years old. Actually, was over 90 years old, and he'd spend about half the day reading his newspaper, and the other half of the day you'd hear him talking to customers, a lot of swearing, yelling, but he was good at what he did. We collected the money, so and it was entertaining. So I'd been there about a week, and the collections guy uh, said to me, "Hey, you should read this article in the Chicago Tribune." And so he handed it to me, and it was an article about the mob hits in the '70s, kind of a retrospect. And I looked in there, and one of the names of the people who was hit was the same as the owner of our company, and it was a very uh, distinctive Italian name. It wasn't something that a lot of people would be named. So it turns out that the owner's father was part of the Chicago outfit. And for those of you who don't know what the outfit is, that's basically the mob in Chicago going back uh, to the days of Al Capone. So I did a little research, and I found out what happened was my boss's father, or the owner's father, was arrested along with several other members of the Chicago mob for stealing a truckload of cigars. It was $500,000 worth of Dutch Masters. He supposedly was working at the time for Fifi Buccieri. And if I pronounce these names wrong, I'm sorry. Um, Fifi was known to the FBI as the Lord High Executioner. His brother was Frank the Horse Buccieri, and Fifi himself was actually known as Sam Giancana's top enforcer and personal hitman. So my boss's father was gunned down about a year after the big cigar heist by two men with pistols who were never identified. He supposedly had a secret relationship with one of the North Side gangs, and which led to Fifi ordering the hit on him. When his body was found, they found a piece of paper in his pocket. The FBI found a piece of paper in his pocket with coded telephone numbers on it, leading the FBI to the North Side gang. And of course, they knew nothing about anything. So needless to say, after the first week on the job, I was a little worried. I thought I might be working for a sweatshop owner, a sweatshop that was owned by the mob. So, I did a lot of thinking about it, and then I had a realization. Something I learned from the opening scenes of the Godfather. If he was connected, he was someone I'd want to call me a friend and not an enemy. So I worked hard. When his wife was having computer problems, I would go to their Lake Point Tower condominium and fix her computer. Whenever I was asked to do a favor or something that was outside of my job description, I did it with a smile. And eventually, I got along great with the boss, and the company eventually did get sold. But, eventually I found out that the second floor was not a sweatshop. It was a union shop, and the union didn't like having non-union members on the floor. I never saw any sign that the owner was involved with anything shady, other than his accounting practices weren't exactly up to the general accounting standards. We did have company outings at the Como Inn, which, for those of you not from the Chicago area, was a known mob hangout. Supposedly, in the 80s, that's where they did several mob initiations. But, the food was good. It was close to where we worked, and the owner always stopped by our tables to say hello. So no problems, I guess. But no guns taped to the toilet or bags full of cash or exploding cars or bullet holes. It was just a typical small company that may or may not have been connected. The question is, was the owner connected? I honestly don't know. But even if I did, I sure as hell wouldn't say it on a podcast. As we learned in Goodfellas, never rat on your friends and always keep your mouth shut. Thank you.